Quit faking it, my dad snapped, while I was having a heart attack. But when the ambulance arrived and the EMT checked my pulse, he insisted, he's just trying to run from responsibility. All right, Reddit. Last Thanksgiving, my family watched me almost having a heart attack and accused me of faking it because they were asking for money. Yup, it is that messed up. But somehow it's the best thing that ever happened to me, lol. Here's what went down. Some background. I, 26 male, work in software development, worked my ass off at college, and now I make decent cash. Here's the medical piece that becomes important later. I have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, meaning my heart muscles are thicker than they should be. Got diagnosed at 18 after face planting during pickup basketball. 1 minute I'm going for a layup, next minute I'm eating court floor, while my buddies scream for 911. The cardiologist explained my heart's basically a drama queen. Stress triggers episodes where it throws tantrums. Chest pressure, can't breathe, heart beating like it's trying to escape my ribcage. Most days it's fine, but when it acts up, it goes nuclear. My family, though, they were a masterpiece. My parents never really got it. To them, I just had heart problems that occasionally made me inconvenient. Dad would roll his eyes at doctor appointments. Mom would sigh like I was personally ruining her day by having a genetic condition. Then there's my brother Noah, golden child extraordinaire. 24 years old, lives in their basement, burned through more jobs than a tornado through a trailer park. Currently on his third career change this year. Aspiring YouTuber to door-to-door sales to finding myself. Translation: smoking weed and playing video games while mom brings him tendies. The money request started 2 years ago when I landed my current job. First it was casual, grab groceries or electric bills higher than expected, always framed like helping out was just what good sons do. But then Noah's car died, and suddenly I was the family mechanic fund. Roof needed work, I'm the emergency contractor budget. Every family dinner became a PowerPoint presentation about financial crises needing my immediate attention. I was stupid enough to help at first. Felt good being the successful one, while Noah explained to mom why Subway fired him for creative differences with management. Here's the thing. Once people know you've got money, they start calculating how much of their problems you should be solving. The math never works in your favor. Last year, I started saying no more often. Suddenly, every conversation became an interrogation. What do you need all that money for? You're sitting on it while family struggles. We sacrificed everything for you growing up. The guilt trips went professional grade. Mom perfected this wounded bird routine about lying awake worried about bills while I was living it up. Dad made comments about thinking I was better than everyone with my fancy job. Noah would smirk from the sidelines. Must be nice not worrying about money. And some of us have real problems. So I started avoiding family dinners. Suddenly, I was the ungrateful son who'd abandoned his roots. Daily texts from mom guilt-tripping about missed Sunday dinners, dad leaving voicemails about family responsibility, Noah sending memes about selfish siblings. My cardiologist's standing rule, avoid high-conflict situations. Guess what Thanksgiving is? 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, mom launched the guilt campaign to end all guilt campaigns. Daily texts, voicemails that sounded like hostage videos, the works. You need to be here, Rick. Family comes first. This might be our last Thanksgiving together. Noah's really struggling, and seeing you would mean the world. That last one almost made me laugh. Noah and I hadn't had a real conversation in months that didn't involve him asking for money or making passive-aggressive comments. But here I am, Thursday afternoon, pulling into their driveway like an idiot. Same beige house screaming, gave up on maintenance in 2003. Bushes that declared independence from landscaping. Noah's piece of shit Honda taking up prime parking because God forbid the unemployed prince walk an extra 10 feet. Inside smelled like turkey, canned cranberry sauce, and that aggressive cinnamon air freshener mom sprays like she's masking a crime scene. Dad was in his standard position. Recliner, drinks, football loud enough to wake the dead. Same half-hearted wave he'd been giving since I was 12. Mom practically launched herself at me with Publishers Clearinghouse enthusiasm. Oh, honey, you made it! I was so worried you'd change your mind again. Noah emerged from the kitchen with a beer that definitely wasn't his first, giving me the usual appraisal. Look who decided to grace us with his presence. Must have been a slow day in tech bro land. Dinner was a masterclass in passive-aggressive warfare. Every topic became about money. Dad mentioned the furnace making weird noises. Meaningful look. Mom brought up expensive groceries. Heavy sigh. Noah made sure to mention his job search was taking longer because he was being selective about opportunities. Selective. Right. Like employers were lining up for someone with Noah's resume of getting fired from retail for tardiness. Finally, Dad put down his fork. We danced around it long enough. We need to talk about you stepping up more. I don't live here anymore, Dad. Don't be a smartass. Face already getting red, meaning screaming match incoming. Your mother and I are struggling. Noah's going through a rough patch. Meanwhile, you're sitting pretty acting like you don't owe anybody anything. Here we go. The annual Rick needs to bankroll everyone's poor choices presentation. Mom jumped in with her wounded voice, perfected over years. We sacrificed so much for you growing up, honey. We're just asking for help when we need it most. I stayed calm. Had to. I helped with the roof last spring, bought Mom's tires in August. I'm not ignoring the family. That's peanuts compared to what you could be doing, Noah said, leaning back like he was holding court. You make more in a month than I see all year? Maybe if you kept a job longer than 3 months, that ratio would improve. The temperature dropped 20 degrees. Dad's face went full tomato. For me, high-volume arguing equals arrhythmia bait. I could feel it starting. You think you're real clever, don't you? Acting like you earned everything yourself. My chest started feeling tight. This was exactly the stress situation my cardiologist warned about. Family confrontations, high emotions, feeling trapped. But I wasn't backing down anymore. I'm not doing this today. Yes, you are. Dad stood up, pointing like I was on trial. You're going to explain why you think you're too good to help your family. The chest pressure was building, heart starting to race, irregular rhythm meaning trouble was coming. Room felt smaller, walls closing in. We raised you better than this, Mom added, tears starting on cue. I can't believe how cold you've become. Noah was loving every second. Maybe if you stopped being such a tight ass with money, people would actually want you around. That's when my heart said, screw this shit, and went completely off the rails. The chest pressure hit like someone dropped a piano on me. Breathing became impossible, like sucking air through a straw. The room started spinning, heart doing this weird skippy dance that definitely wasn't normal. I need some air. Sit down, Dad snapped. We're not finished here. But I couldn't sit. Dizziness was getting worse, sweating like I'd run a marathon. I grabbed the chair back, trying to stay upright while my heart played jazz fusion. I think I need to call my doctor. Noah rolled his eyes so hard they nearly fell out. Oh, please. Here we go with the drama queen routine. Mom actually laughed, bitter sound that cut through my medical emergency haze. Every time someone confronts you, suddenly you have health problems. This wasn't anxiety. This wasn't drama. This was my heart condition going full meltdown, and my family was treating it like performance art. I need to call 911. You're not calling anybody, Dad said, stepping toward me. Quit faking it. That's when I knew my family cared more about winning an argument than whether I lived or died. I dialed with shaking hands. Room spinning, heart trying to breakdance out of my chest. 911, what's your emergency? I have a heart condition and I'm having chest pain and difficulty breathing. Dad actually tried to grab my phone. Not kidding. While I'm having a cardiac episode, this man tried to physically stop me from calling for help. Hang up right now. You're embarrassing this family. I moved away and gave the dispatcher my parents' address. Mom was crying now, not from worry, from anger that I was making a scene on Thanksgiving. You're going to regret this, she said, mascara running, making us look like monsters to paramedics. Noah had his phone out, filming. My medical emergency was content for his Instagram story. EMTs arrived in 8 minutes that felt like 8 hours. Lead tech was this competent woman, maybe mid-40s, who took one look and shifted into business mode. They moved like they'd done it 1,000 times. Vitals, oxygen cannula, adhesive leads, portable 12-lead, the strip printed with the kind of ugly beeps you don't argue with, irregular tachycardia on an HCM patient in visible distress. The lead tech didn't do speeches, just tasks. Transport now. She radioed the ER, HCM history, symptomatic arrhythmia, beta blocker protocol planned, ETA 8 minutes. When my dad tried to talk over her, she didn't look up. Sir, we're working. That one sentence said it all. When did the chest pain start? About 15 minutes ago. I have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. She nodded, reaching for equipment while her partner hooked me to a portable EKG. The strip showed irregular tachycardia. Just medical. The beeping started immediately. Not the steady rhythm you want, but irregular mess sounding like a broken metronome. Partner looked at the reading and his expression changed. Not panic, but that professional urgency meaning shit just got real. We need to transport now. Dad, still playing denial, stepped up like he was going to educate the EMTs. He's faking it. This is attention seeking because we were having a family discussion about responsibility. The EMT looked at him like he'd claimed the earth was flat. Sir, your son's heart rhythm is dangerously irregular. We're taking him to the hospital. As they loaded me onto the stretcher, I could hear Mom giving a performance for neighbors. It's probably just stress. You know how he gets when anyone asks him to be accountable. Dad bitched about the ambulance blocking his driveway. Noah stood filming, shaking his head. Unreal. Even on Thanksgiving, you have to make everything about you. Regional Medical's ER team was professional, competent, actually concerned about whether I died. Within minutes, I had more monitors than a space shuttle. IV pumping something that eased the chest pressure, John explaining I was having a significant cardiac event related to your HCM. Triage pushed me straight to a monitored bay. John explained it plain. Not a heart attack, an HCM-related arrhythmia aggravated by stress. They tagged my chart with a no-info password and put limit visitors. Medical harassment reported on the whiteboard. We're keeping you overnight for observation. Your rhythm has stabilized, but we need to monitor and adjust medications. For 2 hours, it was peaceful. Nurses checking, heart monitors beeping normally, no one demanding I justify financial decisions while hooked to life support. Then my family showed up, not to check on me, to continue the freaking argument. Mom walked in like she owned the place, arms crossed, ready for round 2. The nurse said you're fine, so let's finish what we started at dinner. Dad was right behind her. You really think pulling this stunt gets you out of doing right by your family? Noah brought up the rear, phone still out, recording everything. Everyone needs to see what kind of person you really are. A nurse heard the volume spike and stepped in. He's resting, she said. Lower your voices or security escorts you out. They kept talking. Security escorted them out. My phone started blowing up around 11 p.m. Voicemails, texts, calls from relatives who'd apparently been drafted into this mess. Dad's voicemail was particularly unhinged. You think you can embarrass your family in public and get away with it? I'm going to tell everyone the truth about what kind of son you really are. Mom went full victim mode. I can't stop crying. My own son tried to have me arrested for caring about him. This is breaking my heart. Noah left a rambling message about how I'd regret making them look bad in front of strangers. I saved every single message. Around midnight, my best friend Leo showed up. The kind of guy who doesn't ask questions when you need help, just shows up and handles business. Heard you had some excitement today. My family's completely lost their minds. They were always nuts, brother. Question is what you're going to do about it. Leo works in project management and has this gift for cutting through chaos to focus on solutions. You document everything from tonight? I showed him my phone notes and saved voicemails. Good. Keep doing that. Tomorrow we're talking to a lawyer. You think it's that serious? Dude, they refused to call 911 while you were having a heart attack, then showed up at the hospital to continue harassing you about money. Yeah, it's that serious. He spent the next hour researching family harassment attorneys, found 3 with solid reviews and restraining order experience. I'll drive you to consultations next week. This ends now. Before leaving around 2 a.m., Leo talked to the nurse about restricting visitor access and made sure his number was programmed as my emergency contact. For the first time in years, I had someone in my corner who gave a shit whether I lived or died. That's when I knew there was no going back to normal. Normal had tried to kill me. Got discharged Friday morning with new medications and strict orders to avoid stress. Leo picked me up and drove straight to our first attorney consultation because we weren't messing around anymore. Emily's office was exactly what you'd want in a lawyer. Diplomas on the wall, that no bullshit energy, meaning she'd seen this movie before. What you're describing is textbook harassment with a medical endangerment component, she said after reviewing my documentation. This isn't a family drama, it's a legal issue. She walked us through the game plan. The process was boring in the best way. Certified letters with return receipts, then an ex parte hearing for a temporary restraining order that sets no contact and no third-party contact, plus a specific clause against interfering with medical care. Full hearing in about 2 weeks. Service by the sheriff. Copies for me, 1 for work, 1 for the building desk. If they tested the edges, the escalation path was already written. Cease and desist letters first, giving them 1 chance to back off voluntarily. If they kept up the harassment, restraining orders. The evidence I'd collected would make the case practically slam dunk. You've got timestamps, witness statements, medical records showing stress impact, and recorded evidence of them interfering with emergency medical care. Most judges see a case like this maybe once a year. We covered practical stuff too, removing them from my medical information access, changing emergency contacts, blocking employment information access, basically building a wall between me and their chaos. Do you want to pursue this? Let's burn it all down. The cease and desist letters were drafted by Monday, sent Tuesday via certified mail to my parents, Noah, and even Aunt Celeste, who'd started sending guilt trip texts. Each letter was customized with their specific harassment incidents and referenced state laws they'd be violating. Wednesday, I hit the bank to change emergency contacts. Thursday was the hospital for medical records updates and HIPAA restrictions. Friday, I met with HR to document the situation and prevent my family from calling for employment information. We filed the petition and exhibits on Monday and asked for an ex parte temporary restraining order. The judge reviewed it off calendar and signed the TRO on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the sheriff served my parents and Noah with 1. The signed TRO, and 2. The notice of the full hearing set for about 2 weeks out. From service forward, any contact would be a violation. My phone went absolutely ballistic that evening. 17 missed calls, multiple voicemails, progressively more unhinged texts. Every message got saved and forwarded to my lawyer. Dad's voicemail was pure gold. You think you can use lawyers to threaten your own family? I know people too, and when I'm done with you, you'll never work in this town again. Mom tried manipulation. I can't believe my own son is trying to get his mother arrested. After everything I've sacrificed, this is destroying me. Noah, you better drop this legal bullshit right now. You have no idea what you're starting. Even Aunt Celeste got involved. Your parents are devastated. How can you be so cruel to people who love you? Every threatening message, every guilt trip, every intimidation attempt got documented. By Thursday, we had enough new material to file an additional motion showing continued harassment after legal notice. The judge had already signed the TRO ex parte. Friday was just me getting stamped copies and confirming the full hearing date. It covered no contact, no third-party contact, no relaying messages, stay away from my home and workplace, and a specific line barring interference with my medical care. For the first time in months, my phone was quiet over the weekend. The peace lasted exactly 8 days. Aunt Celeste started the counterattack with a social media campaign, posted in the family Facebook group about how I was attacking my own parents with lawyers and had lost all sense of family values, tagged extended relatives, family friends, even neighbors. My cousin Jenny called Tuesday morning. What's this about you suing Uncle David and Aunt Caroline? I'm not suing anybody. I got a restraining order because they won't stop harassing me about money. That's not what Celeste is saying. She's posting that you're trying to have your parents arrested over a disagreement. This was exactly what my lawyer warned about. The smear campaign designed to make me back down. Time for the nuclear option. I spent Wednesday evening putting together what Leo called the truth packet. Documented facts in chronological order. The 911 call summary showing they refused to help during my medical emergency. Hospital incident reports. Screenshots of threatening voicemails with timestamps. Copies of certified mail receipts for the cease and desist letters they'd ignored. No accusations beyond documented facts. Just a timeline and brief note. Some of you have received incomplete information about my recent situation. These documents provide the actual facts. I shared a 4-page PDF once with extended family, and, because they'd been looped in, the pastor and the HOA chair. It included a timeline, the 911 summary, the ER note, short voicemail excerpts, and the signed TRO. Subject line, for clarity. The response was immediate and beautiful. Cousin Jenny called back within 2 hours. Holy shit, Rick! I had no idea it was this bad. Most people didn't. That's why I had to set the record straight. Uncle David threatened your job? That's completely insane. Other relatives started reaching out. Uncle Tom, who'd been getting Celeste's version, called to apologize for not hearing both sides. My parents' neighbor Beth texted saying she'd had no idea about the medical emergency aspect. The church response was particularly swift. Pastor Peter called my mom that weekend. I know because she left me a voicemail screaming about how I'd turned their entire congregation against them and destroyed their reputation in the community. Aunt Celeste doubled down on Facebook, calling me a liar and claiming the documents were fake. Strategic error because several family members had witnessed incidents and could verify facts. My cousin Liam, Celeste's own son, commented on her post. Mom, I was there for the Easter argument last year. Rick's not making any of this up. The social consequences were swift and brutal. My parents' usual Thanksgiving hosting got quietly transferred to Uncle Tom. Mom got removed from the church planning committee. Neighborhood social invitations dried up overnight. Leo and I celebrated over dinner at his place. He made his famous chili, we watched the Lakers lose, and my phone stayed completely quiet. Think this is over? Probably not. But they're going to have to decide if continuing to look completely insane in public is worth it. I was right about it not being over. Aunt Celeste made one final play 2 weeks later, showed up at my apartment complex to have a conversation about family healing and how abandoning my own parents is a sin. Funny how their logic works. The front desk called before letting her up. Tell her I'm not available and ask her to leave the property. She refused and started making a scene in the lobby about being denied access to her nephew. Security escorted her out while she ranted about lawyers and family betrayal. I filed an incident report and sent a copy to my lawyer. Celeste got her own restraining order 3 days later. Game, set, match. The fallout from the truth packet was better than I could have imagined. Turns out when you give people documented facts instead of emotional manipulation, they make better decisions about who to believe. My parents' social circle imploded within 2 weeks. The church community, which had been their primary social outlet for years, suddenly got very polite but distant. People still said hello after services, but inner circle invitations disappeared. Mom got quietly removed from women's ministry leadership. Dad's men's group stopped including him in weekend fishing trips. The homeowners association was particularly brutal. My parents had been low-key neighborhood busybodies for years, complaining about property maintenance, reporting code violations. Turns out nobody actually liked them. They just tolerated the drama because that's what neighbors do. But once people saw documented evidence of them refusing to call 911 during my cardiac episode, tolerance shifted to disgust. Beth, the lady who'd lived next door 15 years, told cousin Jenny she couldn't look at my parents the same way. What kind of people refuse to help their own son during a medical emergency over money? The social isolation hit Mom particularly hard. She'd always needed constant social validation, thrived on being seen as the devoted mother and community pillar. Having that image publicly shattered sent her into a spiral of angry Facebook posts about ungrateful children and people believing lies. Each post made things worse. The extended family started sharing screenshots, dissecting her rants, and comparing them to documented facts. The contrast wasn't flattering. Dad handled it by doubling down on persecution complex. Started telling anyone who'd listen that I'd hired lawyers to destroy the family because I was too selfish to help when needed. Problem was, most people had seen the evidence and knew he was full of shit. Noah tried capitalizing on the drama for social media clout. Posted TikTok videos about toxic family members who abandon you when you need help most. The comments section became a battlefield between people who believed his version and others who'd seen the real story. The video got deleted within 24 hours. Leo and I watched it unfold from my apartment, ordering takeout and tracking social media drama like it was a sporting event. He'd made popcorn for one particularly entertaining evening when Aunt Celeste got into simultaneous Facebook arguments with 3 different family members. This is better than reality TV, he said, scrolling through comments. Your cousin just posted receipts proving his mom lied about the timeline. Family drama's always more entertaining when you're not in the middle of it. The extended family split into clear camps. Team Rick had documentation, witnesses, and medical records. Team Parents had emotional manipulation, guilt trips, and increasingly desperate social media posts. Guess which side was winning? 3 months after the restraining orders were granted, I ran into high school friend Rowan at the grocery store. We'd known each other since sophomore year, and his family had always been friends with mine. Dude, what the hell happened with your parents? My mom said something about lawyers in the hospital. I gave him the abbreviated version. Family pressuring me for money, medical emergency, them refusing to help, legal action to make it stop. Oh my God, that's insane. My mom always thought your parents were a little intense, but this is next level crazy. How's the family social scene looking for them these days? Rowan laughed, but not mean. But let's just say they're not getting invited to many barbecues anymore. Word gets around in a small community. That conversation confirmed what I'd suspected. The social consequences weren't limited to church and immediate neighbors. The story had spread through multiple social networks, and my parents were finding themselves increasingly isolated. Part of me felt bad about that, but then I'd remember Dad trying to grab my phone while I called 911, and sympathy would evaporate. The restraining orders also had practical benefits I hadn't expected. Work became dramatically more peaceful, without random calls from family demanding salary information. My landlord stopped getting weird inquiries about lease terms. Even my gym was safer. Noah had apparently tried getting information about when I worked out. My lawyer called with an update 6 months after initial filing. The temporary restraining orders are eligible to be made permanent. Given their continued violations and documented harassment pattern, it's basically automatic approval. What kind of violations? Your aunt's apartment incident, several third-party contact attempts through relatives, and your brother posted your work address on social media with commentary. Noah had posted my office building's address with a caption about trust fund babies who forget where they come from. The post stayed up 2 hours before enough people reported it for harassment. So what's next? We will file for permanent orders next week. They'll have another chance to contest, but given the evidence, most judges rubber stamp these. At the full hearing about 2 weeks later, the judge converted the TRO into a longer, permanent order. They didn't show, which meant the packet, plus violations, spoke for themselves. Same terms, longer duration. Violations now move from civil to criminal fast. Congratulations! You're officially free from legal harassment. If they violate these orders, it's criminal charges instead of civil court. Leo took me out for victory drinks that evening. We went to this sports bar we'd been going to since college, ordered too much food, and watched the game in peace. So what now? Now I get to find out what life looks like without constant family drama. Any regrets? I thought about it. About protecting myself? None. About how it got to this point? Yeah, some. I should have set boundaries years ago instead of letting it escalate. Hindsight's 2020, brother. The important thing is you handled it when it mattered. He was right. My phone wasn't constantly buzzing with demands, guilt trips, or passive-aggressive comments. My weekends were my own. My money stayed in my bank account unless I chose to spend it. It was peaceful. The social isolation seemed to be wearing on my family, though. Based on cousin updates, Mom had started seeing a therapist, honestly overdue by 2 decades. Dad got more involved in union activities, probably needing somewhere to channel control issues. Noah actually managed to keep a job for more than 3 months, possibly because he couldn't afford to get fired without family financial backup. Were they learning and growing? Hard to say, but they were definitely experiencing consequences. And that wasn't everything. Because Karma decided to make a visit too, in a very special way. 3 months after the restraining orders became permanent, Leo called with news that changed the entire game. Dude, have you heard about your father? Number I don't really care either. No, listen to me. Your dad's got lung cancer, stage 3. Silence. What? Are you serious? I shit you not. I felt that familiar chest tightness, but this time it wasn't my heart condition, just the complicated mess of emotions that comes with news like that. Dad had smoked like a chimney for 30 years before quitting, so it wasn't completely shocking. But cancer's still cancer. How'd you find out? Jenny posted on Facebook asking for prayers. Sounds like the diagnosis is recent, but the treatment timeline's aggressive. Within a week of the news going public, I could see financial pressure building through social media updates. Dad was taking unpaid medical leave from his warehouse job. Mom was picking up extra shifts at the diner, but struggling physically. Medical bills were already piling up before serious treatment started. Noah, in typical fashion, responded to the family crisis by moving out of the basement and in with his girlfriend. Called it needing space to process, but everyone knew he just didn't want caretaking responsibilities. 2 weeks into Dad's chemo, my phone rang with Mom's number. I let it go to voicemail. Rick, I know about the restraining order, but this is bigger than our problems. Your father is very sick and scared. We need to talk. The voicemail was different. Less demanding, more desperate, but still trying to manipulate the situation. 3 more calls that week, then Noah tried his luck. Look, I know we've had our issues, but Dad's really struggling. The family needs to come together right now. Even Aunt Celeste got involved despite her own restraining order, sending messages through Liam about how I needed to be the bigger person and help with medical expenses. The final attempt came directly from Dad himself. A text message, probably because he figured that wouldn't technically violate the no-contact order. Son, I'm scared. The doctors say the cancer is aggressive and we caught it late. I know I haven't been perfect, but I need my family now. Can we put the past behind us? I showed Leo the message over lunch at our usual spot. What are you thinking? That it's sad, but it doesn't change what they did. Cancer doesn't make someone a different person. Same people who refused to call 911 while you were having a heart attack. Exactly. I called my lawyer that afternoon to discuss legal implications. The restraining order was still active, and any response could be interpreted as reopening communication. You have zero legal obligation to provide financial assistance, and given the documented harassment history, you'd be completely justified maintaining no contact. What if I wanted to meet, though? That's your choice, but I'd strongly recommend not giving them any direct access to you. I spent the weekend thinking about it. Dad was genuinely sick, and despite everything, I wasn't completely heartless. But I also couldn't forget him grabbing for my phone during a 911 call, or telling EMTs I was faking a cardiac episode. Monday morning, I made my decision. Called Jenny. I want to contribute to Dad's medical fund, but I'm not dealing with them directly. How much are you thinking? $5,000. One-time contribution. It was significant money, enough to make a real difference with immediate expenses, but not enough to create ongoing expectations. Jenny handled the transfer through the GoFundMe the family had set up. I made the donation anonymously, but word got back to my parents within hours. The response was immediate and predictable. Dad called, leaving a tearful voicemail about how this proved I was still family, and we could work everything out. Mom sent multiple texts about how this was the first step toward healing our relationship. Noah, being Noah, complained that $5,000 wasn't enough given how much money I made. I didn't respond to any of it. The cancer treatment continued through spring and summer. Dad responded better than expected to chemotherapy, and surgery became viable. The family's financial situation stabilized somewhat with GoFundMe help and community support, though they ended up selling the house and moving to a smaller rental. Their social standing never fully recovered from the Truth Packet fallout. The community remained supportive during the medical crisis. People brought casseroles, helped with yard work, organized meal trains. But inner circle invitations and leadership positions didn't come back. People kept their distance. Noah eventually got steady work at a third-shift packaging plant. Not great money, but reliable hours and decent benefits. He moved back in with my parents after Dad's surgery, officially to help with recovery, but probably because the girlfriend situation hadn't worked out. Summer brought another wave of indirect contact attempts. Father's Day cards sent through Jenny. Birthday wishes passed along by well-meaning relatives. Invitations to family gatherings with promises that everyone just wants to move forward and focus on what's really important. I declined everything. Leo and I took a weekend trip to the coast in August. Good weather, excellent seafood, zero family drama. We were sitting on the hotel balcony Saturday evening when he asked the question I'd been avoiding. Are you ever going to forgive them? I already have, in a way. Just because they're not worth my mental health. But that doesn't mean going back to how things were. They're never going to understand the difference. They will. Eventually. Dad's cancer went into remission that fall. Clean scans, stable blood work, optimistic projections from oncology. The family celebrated at Uncle Tom's house. I saw the photos on social media but wasn't invited, which was perfectly fine with me. 2 years later, I'm still in the same city, still crushing it at work, still tight with Leo. My heart condition is completely manageable as long as I avoid unnecessary stress. And guess what? Cutting toxic people out of your life dramatically reduces stress levels. Who would have thought? I've got a solid routine now. Gym 3 times a week, regular cardiology checkups, actual hobbies that don't involve defending my bank account to people who think they deserve it. I started playing guitar again, something I dropped in college. Work life improved dramatically too. Got promoted 6 months after the family situation resolved, partly because I could actually focus on my job instead of fielding daily calls about someone's latest financial emergency. I started seeing this girl, Zoe. She's a graphic designer, has her own apartment, pays her own bills, and thinks demanding money from family members is absolutely insane. Revolutionary concept. Sometimes I run into extended family around town. The conversations are brief but friendly enough. Everyone's moved on with their lives. Jenny keeps me updated on the basics. Dad's health is stable. Mom's working part-time and dealing with normal aging stuff. Noah's still employed and hasn't been arrested lately. They ask about you sometimes, Jenny told me over coffee last month. What do you tell them? That you're doing well and seem happy? I nodded. Good. The restraining orders are still active. My emergency contacts are people who would actually call 911 if I needed help instead of debating whether I deserved medical attention. My phone stays quiet on holidays, which is exactly how I like it. The final contact attempt? It came last month. Mom called from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. Hey, son. I stayed silent for a minute. Mom, why are you calling? I just wanted to ask about you. She talked about how much the family had grown over the past year, how Dad's illness had given everyone perspective on what really mattered, how much they missed me and wanted me to be part of their lives again, then how they regret what they'd done. We're ready to start fresh. I know we messed up as parents, but there's always a chance for new beginnings, right? I don't know, Mom. What do you mean? I'm pretty sure you're faking it. Huh? She sounded confused. No, we would never. Admit it, Mom. You already lost me as a son. 2 years ago, maybe even way before. I think you should forget about family healing and whatever bullshit you people spin once you need help. Rick, you don't understand. Your father and I are being honest. We're really sorry, and I don't forgive you. Silence on her end. Goodbye. Lose this number. I hung up, then blocked her. Some bridges, once burned, should stay that way.